Did you hear the best part though? He said he's not the only penis man. And then the prostitute comes out and he's like, I didn't hear shit about wedding. That's not why I was there.
Rest in peace, this man's whole career.
Oh my god, no. No!
Yeah.
No!
All right, and welcome back to another episode of Slightly Informed. Bringing it to you here with the same three hosts that are always here at the mic. Myself, Nick, John, and McLean, and we are all here for a extra apocalyptic, weird, strange, odd episode. Odd week.
Odd week.
I mean, it's been like, I'm sure we don't have to explain to anyone listening to this, but the sky is falling.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do anything. And you're not allowed to see anyone.
Multiple of those tweets where it's like, man, this last 24 hours is the longest year of my life. That's like my feelings towards this week. Was just like, fuck, that was like 6 days ago? What the hell, man? That's wild.
Yeah, we've got, and aside from the major headline stuff like that we're going to cover, we got some really weird, just uniquely strange stuff going on.
It's been a weird week.
Yeah, we got the Masked Singer had revealed something amazing. We had
I forgot about that.
Florida being Florida.
Florida being Florida.
Always.
We have a singular shout out to a singular Florida man this time.
Yeah.
He's pretty great.
Not the proverbial Florida man, but a Florida man.
Very specific Florida man. But jumping into that, I think I'm going to send it over to John to bring us in on the weirdness of this weird week.
This weird week, boys. Okay, so you touched on it. Let's start with Sarah Palin. So my little brother watches The Masked Singer. I don't watch it all that often, but the fact that there was like a former vice presidential candidate who was like revealed on The Masked Singer. Oh, just so for anyone who doesn't know, The Masked Singer is this weird show where like everyone dresses in like furry costumes with their face covered.
And a voice manipulator when they're not singing.
Yeah, exactly. But then they sing, and like the judges take guesses at like who that could be.
Who's actually singing.
Yeah, and so I don't know if she won or like she was just revealed this week.
If you take the head off, it means you did not win. It means
but
you
the last
voted
person
off.
Takes it off too, right?
At the end of the season.
At the end of the
season. Oh, the season's not over?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do like, it's weird. They do like playoff brackets with like 3 or 4 different like sets of 4.
Okay.
And then, or sets of 5 sets of 6, and then they narrow it down to 3 each, and then go to the playoffs.
I just like to throw out that I'm really good at guessing who is the Masked Singer.
Yes. Very, very noted, similar sounding people.
It was
Lil Wayne and Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
Not Lil Wayne.
I think you lost $10 on that one.
Yeah.
I did.
But Sarah Palin, former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin, was on The Masked Singer.
I can see Russia from my backyard.
That's just so weird to me. Like, why?
Well, I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like one of those like, hey, remember this person?
Yeah,
like
but no,
she's just not. When's the last time you've seen her?
I mean, I guess, but I feel like in my heart, I like political people to try and then disappear.
Oh yeah.
You know, like Al Gore. I don't really think about him anymore. He made
when's
like
the
an
last time you've seen
Oscar-winning
him?
film or something, but
Yeah.
at least that was like politics adjacent. Like, you know, it was like still like climate change or something. But
yeah, you should be given like 3 like interviews a year max. Like,
I honestly don't
like
before Al Gore. I don't think I could list a vice president. Before Al Gore.
Oh, just like any vice president?
He was Bill Clinton's, right?
Bill Clinton was Al Gore's.
Whose was H.W.?
H.W.'s vice president was...
Fuck.
See, I have no idea. And that's how it should be. They should disappear.
Wow.
Right?
I actually used to know that one. That's funny. I know that H.W. was Reagan's, and I know that Carter's was Mondale.
Okay.
There's a couple.
There's a couple.
But those are ones that went on to run. I don't know who H.W.'s was.
That's true. Yeah, they went on to run.
Bush.
But Sarah Palin on The Masked Singers, wasn't it "Baby Got Back" she sung or something? It was some weird ass song about like backing that ass. Maybe it was "Back That Ass Up."
I think it was. I think your first guess was right. I could be wrong.
Whatever. It was Sarah Palin singing some weird sexual song while exiting a furry costume.
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah. So that was the start of this weird week. And then, or I don't even know if that's the start. This is just a list of things that I stumbled across.
Non-chronological.
Yeah, non-chronological throughout the week.
Dick Cheney. Sorry, I had to say it.
Oh,
that
was
was HW's?
Yeah. Huh.
Wait, he did it for both Bushes?
Yeah,
I feel like I would have known that. Oh, no, I do remember the...
I don't remember that at all.
I do remember the stickers because it was Bush, Cheney,
It was
take Iraq or take Kuwait or something. I don't know. I saw some...
Again,
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
The electric boogaloo. Okay. The next one we have to address is Buttigieg hosting Jimmy Kimmel. And not just like a little bit, but he hosted the show.
It was his show.
And interviewed people and stuff. A fact that I'm not 100% sure of because I watched all of 40 seconds of it. When he was like, his opening monologue was like, hey, I'm Pete Buttigieg, and I'm running to be the next host of Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's so funny. He's hilarious.
Okay, and then because of the coronavirus, it was an empty studio, and there was like 7 people wearing yellow Pete for America shirts, and there's like, yeah!
Wait, an empty studio that like they allowed those people in?
Yeah, it was like they panned the audience. There was like 7 or 8 people, and it was like Chasten and like a few people wearing Pete Buttigieg shirts. It was wild. It was super wild, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I just thought it was weird. And it also caps off this like long, I guess like transitioning history where like the president used to be like powerful and like honorific and like important, and like it all started to change when like Bill Clinton went on to What's-His-Face's show and played the saxophone. Was that
Letterman or no Leno? I think. Yeah.
I think it might have been Letterman.
Oh, I think you're right.
It was like before Leno. But either way, it was just like you kind of lowered the office of the presidency slowly, and then like Obama started doing like every talk show interview, which is smart because he was getting getting like the youth vote,
and he would do like millennial memes.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Thanks,
Donald Trump
Obama.
started doing the same thing and like memed his way into the presidency, and now you have like Pete Buttigieg who dropped out of the presidential race like all of like 2.5 weeks ago, and now he's hosting like Jimmy Kimmel. It's just weird, man. I don't know how comfortable I am with that.
Well, what I love is that they decided for this show to give the accurate representation of Pete Buttigieg followers.
Crowd.
Yeah. It's like, I would say he had about the same reaction.
7 white people. Oh,
Pete
my
Buttigieg. Those were Pete Buttigieg's South Carolina voting base.
Yeah.
The entire thing.
It just I don't know why it makes
Blew
me
them
so
all out.
uncomfortable, but it makes me like incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just think we're well past the point of saving our culture as you know, making this any kind of meaningful office.
Yeah, the president doesn't mean shit, and it never really did. But at least it like what's it called in like the monarchy where it's like in like Britain
the
where
divine right and all that.
No, in Britain where they have like Queen Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth?
I think it's yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It
Wow.
shows what I know
We
about
should
Britain.
really-
Yeah.
Trimming this, probably not, but let's be
But you have
honest.
the queen who's like the figurehead, and then you have like the prime minister who's like the functional authority.
Yeah.
And we had this weird system where like they're 2 in 1. Like the president's supposed to be like the functional,
executive.
but there's like a word for it that I'm completely spacing on right now. So audience, you can hit us back. But there's like the functional authority and
Tweet
like the
at John Arthur.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
It's like the functional authority and like the figurehead authority, and we decided to combine them both in one office, the presidency, and now it just seems like it's skewed further and further towards like the figurehead authority. Like it's like a popularity contest to try
really,
to get in there.
The presidency is like almost just an idea now. It's not even like it's like this is what I'm voting for vibes. Whoever I like, whoever's vibes are going in the direction that I'm vibing in.
I think we'll talk about that more in the second half too. That's all vibes all the way down right now. Let's see what else we want to talk about.
Who else are we vibe checking?
We're vibe checking Andrew Gillum. All right, Nick, you reacted very strongly to this. You want to give us a breakdown of what happened?
I could not. I thought that I was gonna find myself on r/8 the Onion.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was gonna start making a bunch of posts about this, and then find out that it was some like satire site that was like making.
Or like that is way overblown by the
Yeah,
right wing.
yeah.
It's
Or it's
like,
just like-
well, you know, it was a wedding party and he was in the other room.
I did get a lot of QAnon responses,
Yeah.
but basically Andrew Gillum was in a motel in South Florida.
A motel or a hotel? That makes a big difference.
He's a Florida man. Come on, it's
So
a
it was a
motel.
motel.
It's a motel.
Okay.
It sounded like one room.
Yeah, it's a tiny room, and he's in there, passed out, just like insanely drunk because they tested him in the morning, and he was well above the legal limit when he woke up.
Yeah.
When they woke him up, next to the prostitute that was
overdosing, methed out prostitute.
Yes, with meth in the room.
Well-known prostitute. Side note too, there's a shit ton of nudes of this guy online. You could they were linked on the Twitter thread where I found this. So I was just like, oh, this is not even like a low-key prostitute. He's just like a well-known South Florida prostitute. Also, okay, I love Gillum's office spin was like, you know, I was attending a wedding. I might have got too drunk.
Got a little crazy.
Yeah,
there.
and then the prostitute comes out and he's like, I didn't hear shit about a wedding. That's not why I was there.
Oh, God.
Because at first I just read Gillum's thing, and I was just like, okay, you know, you have that crazy cousin or something, and he was doing meth in the room
a wild
over.
Night,
yeah.
And there was like 4 people in there.
Or even if there's
and
like 40 people, you can't be responsible for what the other 39 are doing if you're in like this room getting wasted.
Yeah.
And you just happen to be like
there
sharing
was
some
plausible
connected
deniability.
Yeah, that was like the spin they tried to push, and then it turns out he's in like a 1-bedroom thing. I think it was like 4 dudes with a gay prostitute who's ODing on meth, and Gillum's drunk, and they find meth just sitting on the bed.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the police roll up, and they just like the dude's overdosing.
Hey, I mean, we can judge from our high horse, from our purity testing, lefty nonsense over here, saying everyone has to be so pure, but who of us has not
been in a hotel room,
gotten too drunk at a wedding, and ended up in a motel room with a famous gay prostitute and a pound of meth?
Yeah, where he denies the fact that it had anything to do with a wedding.
What wedding?
That's why I didn't go downtown last night with you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was a little busy doing that.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's because
makes sense.
Like I think my normal reaction to meth being in a room would be like, huh, I will leave.
Yeah.
This has got a little too intense for me. Yeah, this isn't my vibe.
I've got to go.
Fucking party now, boys.
Yeah, right?
Gotta go water my garden.
Yeah, meth is not my idea of a party drug.
My Roomba's scared.
Gotta go. True, but just to play it off being like, sorry, I was drunk.
It's just no further explanation.
Yeah.
You know what happens at weddings.
Yeah.
That classic story we all have.
I've never done meth. I wouldn't do meth. I just happened to be in the same hotel room as people doing meth. It happens.
With a pile of meth.
Yeah.
You guys ever heard of ride sharing? It's like that.
It's like that.
A room.
Meth sharing.
We had a room. Yeah, so that was a weird one, too. Let's see what else we want to spin into. Oh, all sports are canceled.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that's softball.
Oh, my God.
That was pretty crazy. When I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you know, I think I woke up. I was taking a nap.
Yeah.
And I woke up, and, like, our group chat was kind of blowing up a little bit, and they're like, this happened. Like, look what they did at the game. Like, they just rushed out onto the court, you know, at the OKC. And then all of a sudden, it's like, 10 minutes come by. 10 minutes later, they cancel the whole game, and it's like 20 minutes later, NBA season's over. 30 minutes later, holy shit, they're all in quarantine at OKC. Like, Jesus Christ, it was like the most wild 45 minutes ever.
Oh, no. Seriously, shit went from 0 to 100 so fast.
I think it was like a 2-day spree where the NBA was like, cool, we're suspending all games. And then the NCAA for March Madness was like, okay, we're not going to suspend the games, but there's going to be no audiences. We're going to play basketball. And then like 12 hours later, they're like, nah, we're suspending all games.
Fuck the tournament. Sorry.
Yeah, fuck the tournament. We're not taking that PR backlash. And then everyone was like, well, goddamn, at least we have the NHL to look forward to. And then like 8 hours after that, NHL was like, nah, we're out too.
Oh, my God.
I love the second that happened, all the memes started flooding in when Canada was making big strides to finding a vaccine.
Yeah, Canada's
Everyone's
in the
like,
testing phase already of a vaccine.
Everyone's like, oh, cancel hockey. Canada gets shit done.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like Canada was chill until you fucked with their like hockey, and then they were like, all right, we'll fix this whole thing for you fuckers.
Right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh? This is what we're gonna do?
Yeah.
Huh?
This is what we're doing.
We're gonna cancel the one thing we
that
have.
we enjoy. Yeah.
Was it just I'm pretty sure I saw something today that said something along the lines of that the U.S. is testing their first vaccine tomorrow.
I did not hear that at all.
All I know is that Cuba has been sending it to a ton of different countries.
There's a bunch of
the
countries
US has
testing it. Canada's testing it. Supposedly Germany's testing it, and Trump tried to contact that lab and get a deal where they would only sell it to America. and they were like German scientists. So they were like,
Fuck that.
no. and like Trump it wasn't even, he was trying to buy vaccine. He was saying like, I will buy the vaccine, but it has to be for America only. You can't sell it to anyone else. And then that came out in a newspaper in Germany, and then the German health ministry was like, yeah, we're not going to deny any of that. And they didn't like confirm it either, but they were like, yeah, you know, that is what our person said, and we're not going to deny that happened.
We're also not going to do anything about it.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
funny.
Yeah, to go to another country and be like, we will buy your whole stock, but it has to be for us only. That's a pretty bold
I
move.
will
The
say
deal
that
maker.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. The article I saw wasn't talking about the U.S. I don't know where I got that, but it was talking about Canada.
Canada, yeah, they're in human trials.
Human trials.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
that's
awesome.
pretty fucking bold.
Shout out to Canada. Shout out to Cuba. Being
Yeah.
on the ball.
Man, I feel like we burned through that pretty quick.
I thought that was going to take longer for sure.
I did too. Well, okay, well, let's spin into... This is not the Weird Week, but there's this really cool thing in politics happening right now
No way.
where 2.5 months after Andrew Yang dropped out, everyone's like,
UBI.
that guy had some cool ideas.
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone would be really doing well with a UBI
Yeah.
right about now.
Yeah, CNBC came out for it. AOC, who previously called it a Trojan horse, came out that we should do UBI. Ro Khanna's for it. Tim Ryan came out for it. Who Tim Ryan I only know as like the yoga and pull-ups guy, but he's pro UBI. So I just thought it was funny this week that 2 months ago everyone was like, man, that's a crazy idea. We could never do that. That's a Trojan horse to kill all safety net programs. And then coronavirus hits and everyone's like, you know what people need? Money.
I also liked literally one day after things start shutting down and just like the seasons are over, the stores are closed, like all kinds of stuff starts hitting the fan. The stock market drops by 11% or whatever it was. Like as soon as that happened, all of a sudden you see like almost like this regret face on like the CNN pundits. Like Tapper was like, well, you know, it's like with this many people walking around without insurance, scared to lose their job, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you just spent months attacking the two candidates who supported that and the one candidate who supported any other resolution for this. Yeah. And now you're just going to like put your tail between your legs when it's too late.
Well, and then also today we were watching the debate. It is Sunday. What is it? The 14th or something? The 15th. Sunday, March 15th, we were watching the debate between Bernie and Biden. And they both kept saying like, if you lose your job, like, you won't have to worry about your rent. Like, we'll make you whole. Like, everything will be paid for. They kept saying, we'll make you whole, which is, like, corporate bullshit speak for, like, we totally won't cut your wages. They kept saying, we'll make you whole. But no one came out and said how they were going to make us whole. Mm-hmm. And now the policy that people are coming back with is UBI. But no one came out and said, like, hey, we will give you fucking money. Because when you are a waitress and no one's coming to a restaurant anymore, then you're fucked.
Who put forward who fronted the bill with
Tulsi Gabbard?
She fronted the bill with
HR 897, I do believe.
The emergency UBI.
Yeah, emergency UBI. Okay, this is my favorite take though. UBI is like crack, in the sense you're gonna give $1,000 a month for like 3-4 months to Americans, and be like, yeah, we're gonna wheel that back. Like, I'd love to see how that one goes over. Or that's why I'm super in favor of a quote-unquote emergency UBI.
I mean, yeah.
Because the second you give Americans $1,000 a month, you're not going to be able to, like, put that cat back in the bag. Like,
you gotta at least compensate something.
Yeah, you're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
You're going to have to cut it in half to 500 or something.
Most people don't. You know, you talk to just the average person. Does the United States government have enough to give everyone $1,000 a month? And then you say this crazy number. Yeah, they fucking do.
Yeah, well, they said
it's not that crazy.
The $1.5 trillion would be $9,000 for every adult over the age of 18.
And what was the actual like specifics? Because I've heard a lot of people critiquing people who are saying specifically that the like 1.5 trillion could be spent on this, that, and that. Was it quantitative easing on loans? It was quantitative easing. But people act like that's not the government spending. But it really
it's not.
I mean, but it is.
It is, but it's not.
Yes.
The Fed, this is where you get a little in the conspiracy realm, because the Fed is a private company. The Fed has nothing to do with the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So
it does operate independently, yes.
It does operate independently. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, But if the government told them to do something, they'd essentially have to do it.
Well, yeah.
And like we can do things with our we could essentially borrow money from the Fed at 0 interest rate and then just pass it along to the people.
What else did they do? They passed a zero
they lowered the interest rates to 0.
Zero for student loans and what?
No.
I thought someone
quantitative easing.
Oh, maybe this one's still a bill then, because I thought I saw someone that said they were gonna
in his national when he said it was a national emergency. He said that they were suspending all interest on student loans.
Yes, actually, that was
cool.
shout out to Trump for doing something.
Until further notice. He didn't say when.
Yeah.
It just said until further notice. There is no longer
interest
on student loans.
That's pretty dope.
But they did quantitative easing. They lowered interest rates to 0. Like, what can you do past that? Besides give people fucking money.
We've already used every tool in the toolbox.
And that's why this whole time I was afraid of keeping interest rates this low to 0, because then when shit hits the fan, you don't have a way to fix
spending by reducing
if you
interest
lower it
rates.
from 1.5% to 0%, what's your move after that? I know some countries have gone negative interest rates, but not many.
How long is that sustainable?
It's not sustainable long term, and it also fucks you even more because essentially banks get paid to borrow money. Me and you don't get paid to borrow money.
Yeah.
So what the hell, man? Yeah, can I get in on some of that? I'll borrow $800 and make $900. I'll give you your $800 back. Yeah. I just made $100. But the poor guy can't do that.
Yeah.
But if the bank wants to borrow 1 point something trillion, and it
we got a bottomless pit of money for you. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Here you go.
Yeah, so the Fed has done essentially everything they can to assuage the doubts in the economy. I also want to do a deep dive. This will be for a different podcast, but me and my buddy in California got in a debate the other day about what the word economy means and how I think it means different things to different people. Where when rich people think of the economy, they think of the stock market, and when poor people think of the economy, it's how easy is it for me to get a job and pay for my bills?
Just material things.
Yeah.
The definition of the economy is there is a definition that it's basically just the way in which a society allocates its resources to people who need it.
But that's so broad because
but the stock market has nothing to do with that.
But that's when all of these talking heads on major news networks say
the economy.
How are you going to argue with Trump when the economy is doing so well? It's what do you mean by the economy? Because
who's
you're
it doing
right.
well for?
The stock market's doing great. That's not a part of the economy. I feel. So who are we talking about?
That would be a really great podcast.
Yeah,
we should. So open.
Yeah, we should do a deeper discussion on that because that was one where I was just and I thought the left should come up with a different term for
economics
just for what we mean when we're saying the economy. Because when I say the economy is really shitty, what I mean is a person can't work 1 40-hour-a-week job and pay for their apartment and their car and their gas and their food.
Let alone if they have a kid or a family.
Exactly. Or even best case scenario, you have 2 people with no kids. You usually still can't afford a comfortable living.
Yeah.
So but that's what the economy means to me. But then all these people who are hosts of TV shows will be yeah, man, the economy's humming along. Unemployment's the lowest it's ever been. It's because people are running 4 jobs, man.
Yeah.
And they still can't afford their rent.
People are underemployed in higher rates than they were 10 years ago.
But you need a different descriptive word so you can be yeah, sure, that's the economy, but we're talking about blank.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm fine seeding that word, but
I just tend to think if they want to convince people, if the left wants to convince people that they are on their side economically, start using terms like your material conditions. There's got to be a really clean way to
that's what I've been trying to think of one.
Because even material conditions can mean different things to different people too. We need something specific.
When they're gonna whip out material conditions like your iPhone, does every person need an iPhone?
Did your grandpa have a smartphone? Oh. Wow, you must be doing a lot better than him.
Yeah, right, exactly. Your material conditions like avocado toast. Does every millennial need avocado toast? Yeah. So we need something easy, simple, off the bat, just to be that's the economy, but we're talking about
the ability to survive.
Because it's open.
And
the exact definition of economy is the wealth and resources of a country or region, especially in terms of production and consumption of goods and services.
And that could even be the stock market. Like the stock market's a good gauge of that because, like, as robot trucks take over, the economy will skyrocket, or the stock market will.
But it'll just concentrate.
Yeah, it'll concentrate, and more people will lose their jobs and not be able to afford a living and things. So we need like a one-word crisp off the cuff to say like, yeah, but what about this number?
Because I mean, and the problem is that when people talk about an economy doing well right now, they're talking about a consolidation of wealth among smaller amount of people.
Yeah.
That's what the economic indicators for the stock market doing that well means. It doesn't mean that
or just businesses, but who's in control of businesses? A small amount of the population.
Yeah.
Like when the Dow goes up, it means like this X amount of companies is doing really well.
Yes.
It doesn't mean like the people
that's
who
making
work
it
for
to
them.
the people who work for them,
exactly.
or even the investors.
Yeah.
Like it's
and people are talking about this too. Like to circle back to UBI a little bit. Like nothing is going to convince employers that they need to automate away jobs more than like a pandemic. Because like, oh, they're like, wow, a robot burger flipper does not get sick. Interesting. Yeah. You know, like I think this is going to be a giant blow to the economy. Also, having people take 2 weeks off with like a skeleton crew, you'd be like, oh yeah, we could function with a skeleton crew. Fuck those people.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Literally at work, we lost 4 employees. We're more busy than we've ever been, and we were asking the corporate about like, you know, who are we going to bring in, and they said we're not hiring any additional people for this store.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let's work everyone to the end of their rope.
My mind.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's how
because
it's
then you don't have
right
more
now.
people to cover when someone needs to be quarantining themselves for a couple days or a week or whatever. Like we don't have the coverage to do that. More than one person goes
oftentimes
downward.
the biggest overhead of businesses right now is like the human cost.
Labor, yeah.
Yeah, labor
It's always
costs.
labor, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to try to ixnay that shit as fast as they can and get us out of the equation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the transition to the service economy was supposed to be the final kind of saving point for that. Like, hey, we may not have manufacturing jobs, but you can work a register. We may not have the greatest structural production jobs in the world, but you can go and work at a hotel front desk.
Or even nicer jobs too, where like electrician, plumber, HVAC, like things like that are like good, usually union jobs. But then on the flip, from when you're like age 5 to age 18, they're like, you know who goes into HVAC? Losers. Go to
People
college.
who didn't go to college.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you really want to fix electrical systems in buildings? Yeah, that's
have fun at
that's
tech
some
school, bro.
blue collar loser shit.
Yeah.
And then so you go to college and get like a philosophy degree, and you come out, and you're like, wow, I got my degree, guys. Where's my job? And they're like, yeah, you don't get some philosophy degree.
Liberal
losers.
arts.
Yeah. So it's this weird feedback loop of like, there are some decent service economy jobs, but then we're told our whole lives, like, don't go do that because that's some loser shit. And it's like, no, that, like, union electrician's probably making $80K a year with, like, essentially a guaranteed job forever because no one else can do his shit.
Oh, absolutely. And like, to go back to, like, what we were talking about, like, redefining, like, what we call the economy, like, even if we are defining it in their terms, like,
I think we shouldn't try to fight the stream. Give them that term, and we can come up with a better term.
Well, but what I'm saying is that even if we just accept their terms of the debate, they still aren't right. Because, like, when they talk about it, and every time you finally get someone who's smart enough to know that they're lying about the economy because they're either in the hands of the wealthy or they're wealthy themselves.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is,
CNBC,
like, they're smart enough to know they're lying, but, like, their incentive structure is to continue lying.
Exactly. But the thing they're lying about is that, like, they always say the same thing. They're like, what you need for an economy to thrive for everyone, for a rising tide to lift all boats, is economic dynamism.
Yeah.
And if for anyone who doesn't know the term dynamism, it's basically how
corporate bullshit.
Yeah, it's a corporate jargon word about like how likely investors are to invest in a company, how likely people are to go out and start their own business, how likely people are to do this. But this is, if you think in short term, with the money that the people that already have money succeeding, and it's like, wow, look at all this dynamism, look at all these people investing. But every economist in the world who's like not a paid hack or not a billionaire will tell you like, well, you're looking at an economy with less and less consumers and people who basically are living paycheck to paycheck with a negative balance.
I think that's the biggest argument for UBI is like at some point you're going to hit this wall where there's like 80% of the population who's not going to buy a new TV.
Yeah.
You know,
like it's
or pay for Amazon Prime or like any of that, because it's just like, well, shit, I can barely afford groceries. I'm not going to go buy a new toaster. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, would we say the bottom 14% of America, or close to 20% or something like that, has negative wealth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It might even be a little higher than
and
that.
it's expanding because that was like 2011.
Yeah,
like
it was some number. Yeah.
It's getting worse from there, and when there's no one to buy your product, it doesn't matter how efficiently you can make that product.
But then the flip of that too is like, have you seen like the luxury goods market is exploding because it's rich people selling shit to rich people.
Well, the luxury goods market operates like it's almost like in a completely unique economy.
Yeah.
And there's even
but I think they're trying to stopgap that of like, oh, we can't sell to poor people. We'll just sell more expensive shit to rich people.
Yeah, let's make only 4K 70-inch
Yeah,
TVs
exactly.
now and stop
And sell
investing
them
in
for
$30-inch
$4,000.
TVs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's something now that you bring it up, I've noticed about TVs. They're all either $3,000 or $400.
Yep.
You know, like there's
and the $400 one cost
Yeah.
them like $8 to make after they streamline the
middle
process.
class consumer goods are gone. It's like you're either incredibly wealthy or you got to make do with what you got, buddy.
When you get to a point where they're pretty close, I mean, yeah, you compare like some like Roku TV to Samsung's crazy like 12K
AMOLED 8K,
crazy
like quantum bullshit, and you're like,
I mean,
I don't know what that
yes, but majority of people won't really fucking notice that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that there's a difference between $12,000 and $400.
Well, it's like, I mean, luxury goods. Someone put it as a tax on rich people, essentially. Just like how the same. I think
they want to buy TV, so they buy the nicest one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and their neighbor bought an 80-inch, so he had to see if someone could make him a 90.
Yeah.
You know, like stuff like that. But
keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's like our weird spin-off of UBI too, because I think that was mostly what we had to bring up.
Yeah. No, we're good. I think we should probably do some shout-outs.
Okay.
Cool.
Does anyone?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I just want to shout out Colorado.
Okay. What's up with Colorado?
Colorado. So they passed some legislation earlier last week, and it replaced Columbus Day with Cabrini Day. And it says, fuck you, Columbus.
Who's Cabrini?
Cabrini. Francis Xavier Cabrini, who, according to the bill...
who was going to be a joke, but nailed it.
Is a woman responsible for creating 67 schools, hospitals, and orphanages in the United States and
That's cool.
South and Central America
Yeah,
throughout
fuck
her
Columbus.
lifetime. So they replaced Columbus Day with someone who actually did something good.
Anyone who's upset at fuck Columbus, he discovered it second. So, fuck him.
you.
Yeah, yeah. No one cares about people who discover something second.
Yeah, apart from just being a brutal shitlord, like.
Yeah, but even
And
that's
just
what they always turn back to. Is like, yeah, he was kind of an asshole. I get it,
But it was the sign
he
of the
discovered
times,
America.
and-
And it's like, no, he didn't. He did not.
No.
Fuck you.
And just think about the racism of the term "discovered."
Yeah.
There were people there.
Yeah.
Like,
but he discovered it for white
yeah.
people.
Oh.
We didn't know it was here. We didn't know we could exploit it yet.
The Western civilization discovered a civilization
Yeah.
to the West.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. So we have to turn that Western civilization into our Western civilization.
No, I'm fine with Columbus Day being gone. I don't really care about Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed like kind of a dick.
Well, yeah.
He definitely was.
I also, this is a point I'll address a little bit where, like, I think there's being a dick for your time, which is, like, maybe you didn't fight against slavery because, like, you existed in that time. And then there's, like, go harvest gold or I'll chop off your hand.
No,
which is, like, that's, like, next level. So that's not just being a dick for his time. That's, like, hey, you're kind of the worst, man.
Well, people try to like revive his legacy sometimes, and they'll go into the history and they'll say things like he was reluctant to the slave trade, but the king of Spain wanted him to do, blah, 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 and talking about that. But like literally, there's letters basically with him begging the king and queen of Spain at the time to invest in the idea of slavery.
Yeah, I think there was a spin-off of
It's really great, guys.
Howard
Go check it
Zinn's
out.
A People's History of the United States, where it was like a people's history of the world, and I read some of his letters in that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you're like a full-fledged
real
monster.
shithead.
Yeah.
We have a day for you. Nice.
Yeah, I'm good getting the fuck rid of that guy.
And like 300 statues.
We can even give him like his one paragraph in U.S. history class that no one will remember. I'm fine with that. I don't remember most of my U.S. history class.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, this was the guy who allowed Europe to come over here. Cool. I'll forget about him.
Discovered America second.
Yeah, but like we don't need a holiday for him. He was kind of a dick, and he wasn't even the first. Who cares?
Yeah.
He wasn't even the first. Hey, who's the first guy to break the sound barrier? Chuck Yeager. Who's the second guy?
I don't fucking know.
Who
I
the
don't
fuck?
care.
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Who the fuck knows? You're the
I
second
don't even
guy.
know the second guy to step out of the moon lander.
Chuck
Buzz
Yeager.
Aldrin.
He didn't step onto the moon.
He didn't?
No,
I think he did.
I don't think he
did.
did.
I think he did.
I didn't think they had enough time.
No, I think he did.
I will say,
I
side note,
swear I thought there
Chuck
was a third
Yeager,
one.
badass.
Yeah,
So
oh, yeah.
When he broke the sound barrier, he had a broken rib, and he
Oh, yeah.
couldn't lean to close the entire big windscreen thing
Yeah.
up above him. So he fashioned a piece of wood to do it for himself because he didn't want to let.
Yeah, he didn't want to let anyone else do it. Well, because
that-
Chuck Yeager went down in history, and number two,
Well, he didn't
fuck-
want anyone to know that he was hurt. He was like,
Yeah.
I forget how it happened.
Well, no,
but
I've
he
heard
had a
that
broken
astronauts do
rib.
that too, where like they
He's
a lot of
fucking
times
live.
won't report their illness because they know they'll get taken off the program.
Yeah.
So Chuck Yeager's probably thinking the same thing. We're like, oh, I'll give it to like
fucking do it
Jimmy
myself.
Smith over here. Fuck that, man. Chuck Yeager.
Yeah.
I'll fucking blow that sound barrier.
It reminds me of a Far Side comic where it was Lewis and Clark, and it was on like a newspaper, and it's like Clark's mom, Meriwether Clark's mom, holding a paper up to him. He's like, if you don't start doing something on these trips, you're going to be playing second fiddle in the history books forever.
Oh man, I think he's only remembered because it's such a catchy little Lewis
and Clark. Yeah, just like
yeah.
if
Oh,
it
Lewis
didn't
and Clark,
sound that
yeah.
good, if it was like
Exactly.
Lewiston and Rosenberg.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
I have
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not. No one's gonna remember that.
Wasn't Rosenberg the chick who was cut out of the DNA discovery?
What?
Yeah.
I think
The
maybe.
DNA discovery?
The people who discovered the double helix, there was a
Oh,
woman who
yeah,
took the
who
was
picture,
there
and I think
too,
it
and they
might have
just,
been
like-
Rosenberg. So that would be pretty funny. Okay, I'm going to go with my shout out. I'm shouting out Mary Roach this week. She's the author of a book I'm reading called Grunt. And she writes books that are really cool. They're like deep dives into things you wouldn't think about. Like Grunt is about like military combat and military history, but it's like things you wouldn't think about. Like she had a chapter all about like diarrhea and how like diarrhea affects like missions and like combat safety and things like that. And there was another chapter about like military clothing and like how it's designed and how you would really think about it and stuff. So it's just like it's less of, like there's a million books about like military strategy and like military history, but like she always does deep dives into like weird wonky things that like you wouldn't really think about.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm always into that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
you
where
should
it's like,
you should check her out because
Grunt.
Grunt's this one. She had one called, I think it's called Bonk, that I read. It's like a weird history of like sex and like human sexuality studies and stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of other ones she wrote, but she always does these like weird one. And there's like multiple points in the book that make you like laugh because you're just like, yeah, that is weird.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, I think she had this one that made me like laugh out loud. I can't remember the exact lining, but they were talking about like how like being around like artillery and shooting guns and stuff can like damage your hearing, and so she went to a test to like use their new like essentially earplugs, but that are modified to like sort out like loud noises but keep the soft noises so you can hear like your teammates talk to you.
Yeah.
And she was like firing an like an M16 or whatever, and the guy who was like allowing her to shoot it and at the range like teaching her was like, hey, if at any time you like don't feel comfortable doing this, you can just like raise your hand and say like, hey, I'm not comfortable, I'm done with this, I'm not this isn't my jam. And she had this comment, she was like, man, if only war worked that way.
Hold up, guys.
Yeah.
This got a little crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like sitting alone reading, and I laughed out loud, just being like, yeah, you know what, guys, this isn't my thing. Like,
The guy who was just like screaming at the highest decibel in your ear, and then you just watch him like with some lady. He's like, hey, whenever you're feeling done, it's like,
or just
great.
like a Vietnam like draftee who's just like, you know what, this isn't my
Yeah,
jam.
I'm gonna head
I'm out.
home.
Yeah. So yeah, Mary Roach, way to write really good books. And I'll toss it back to Nick now.
All right. Well, for my shout out this week, it was something that happened, I think, earlier today, actually. Shout out to AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's been, I think her takes have been getting better and better over time. Like she's been pretty good on most things most of the time, but you know, she's still learning learning the
She
ground and
turned
stuff like
against
that.
me on UBI.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, she did say that I think she was like you were talking about, who said specifically that Yang's UBI
Yeah,
was.
she did.
She didn't say that UBI.
But that also
itself
hurt more
is-
because she was just like, yeah, fuck this one in
This-
particular.
yeah.
I was like, what? What's the one on the table, dude?
Come
Like,
on.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, okay,
I
go on.
get it playing defense for Bernie, but
Yeah,
like,
true.
That's
That's what it felt
there
like.
were actual people to be concerned about,
Yeah.
like that were gonna be whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she today she's always had good instincts with stuff like race and immigration though.
She does,
So like
yeah.
she today got a notice from someone with an alert. They've set up a local alert system network in New York for seeing ICE vehicles and
That's
ICE
tight.
vans, and basically she
Like
hopped in a
Waze
car.
for ICE?
Yes, exactly. She hopped in a car, raced to LaGuardia to intercept an ICE detention,
yeah.
and because basically, and her logic with it was like basically like, hey, we're in a travel shutdown.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are we like moving the most
Children around.
yeah, moving like the most vulnerable people in our society around the country on planes, and then to a holding cell with
Where
close
you're
quarters.
trapped with more than 50 people? Was that what you
Yeah.
were saying? Against
Almost
the
like that
CDC
thing that they
guidelines?
said. CDC should come shut down ICE.
They should. That'd be super
That
tight.
would be so, it's the government just like,
Like 40 scientists in the lab coats rolling and be like, man, this is too many people in a room, guys.
you're gonna have to let some of them go.
Oh, man, that would be such a power move.
Oh, how great would it be if we like had to lay off ICE people from this? That'd be great. Like,
Yeah.
if we couldn't like afford to risk sending people out, so like, oh, we gotta let people
Sorry,
go.
You know,
Those are the only people I
gotta be
think
done.
should
And the
not
fucked up
get
thing, if it went
emergency
non-essential
UBI.
personnel, they would still be considered emergency.
they're counted as essential personnel,
Essential personnel.
unfortunately. Yeah. And honestly, like, I'm not 100% against that because a lot of what they do is just like check like containers at like ports, which is like we probably should be doing that.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
like the going to arrest people within like 100 miles of a border where they just have free reign to be like, you're pretty brown.
Mm-hmm. Like the little
Where's your
family guy
card?
holding
Yeah,
the swap
exactly,
card.
yeah.
Got any
Yeah.
papers?
Yeah, but it's like within 100 miles of like ports of entry, which is like a good chunk of a lot of
The
southern
vast
states.
majority of the US.
My sixth grade social studies and history teacher like put it in perspective. That was the year that they came out with that Arizona law where Border Patrol and ICE
Yeah.
were allowed to ask
DWB.
you. Yeah, they were allowed to ask you to identify your citizenship. Now, if you're a Mexican person,
Which is super against the Fourth Amendment.
it is
It's
absolutely
super against
literally
the, Fourth
the
Amendment.
rule, the direct thing, because it was never illegal to just ask someone for papers
Yeah.
like while you're in the middle of a traffic stop or a pulling them over or doing whatever. But this was saying that you could literally see someone, determine that they look
Use
like
that as a
someone,
reason for
and then
stop,
that was like reason
I don't
probable
even know
cause.
how would any of us prove our citizenship?
I
That's
wouldn't.
what he
Like,
said.
Let me go home and get my.
he-
There's been
Social
multiple
Security
cases
card?
where it's happened to people where like they're American citizens and they get arrested because as is the similar with most Americans, I have my driver's license and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want my social or my birth certificate, I don't know where they are.
I have to go. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't even know where they are. It'd
Yeah.
probably take me 3-4 weeks to get that shit together. I'd have to go to like the Social Security Administration and like call up the hospital I was born at. So, like I could get it, but you need to give me some time.
Yeah.
But you have multiple cases where people were arrested
What do
because
Well, and
the government recommends not carrying your social security card on you.
yeah.
yeah.
What other documentation would you
I don't
fucking
know.
have?
Well, yeah,
I don't
that was my
know,
teacher's
yeah.
whole point with this thing talking. He was like, all right, so I want you guys to think really hard here. If I came up to you and asked you, prove that you're an American, and then like, of course, the first person said, my driver's license, and he's like, you don't have to be a citizen to have a driver's license.
And not in a lot of states, yeah.
And he's like, and then they're like, okay. He's like, a green card. He's like, but you're born in America. You don't have a green card.
have a green
And
card,
it was
no.
like, social security card. And it's like, how can they verify that right there on the spot?
Or who
It's
keeps it
impossible.
with them.
And who keeps it with them?
I guess maybe now with the new driver's license they have the star card.
Yeah, fuck the star card too.
Yeah, seriously, that is such a bullshit thing.
Right? I gotta like bring 3 forms of ID now instead of 1 to prove I'm American, and then I can fly on flights.
Yeah.
Ooh, funny story time to
It
tell
was
our listeners.
easier to get a
I had to
passport,
fly to California. I would recommend anytime you fly anywhere, make them pat you down because it's really hilarious.
Wait. Make them pat you
Yeah,
down.
okay, so you have an option. If you don't want to get in their weird X-ray body scanner, you can go through a metal detector, and then they have to pat you down. And then,
That's so
yeah,
you, John.
yeah.
Oh my
so
God.
I was not gonna get into some 3D scan bullshit to scan my whole body, and then find out 10 years down the line that they're using it to identify terrorists or some shit.
Yeah.
So I told them, Oh, okay. So at first they wouldn't let me do it, but there's a pregnant lady in front of me who did it. And I was like, well, why does she get to go through the metal detector and I can't? And they're like, because she's pregnant. And I was like, well, I would like to take that option. Because... And they tried to sell it to me as like, well, you understand that if you do that, you go through the metal detector, we're gonna have to pause you and we're gonna have to pat you down. But it's the Boise airport, and I got there like 2 hours early, so it's like, man, I got all the time in the world.
55 minutes.
Yeah.
You guys want to watch a movie while we're doing this?
Exactly. I was like, man, I will make you fuckers do this because I got nowhere to be and no shame. So they pull you into this. They make you go through the metal detector, and then they pull you into this like side section, and they're like, man, you want a private room or something? I'm like, nope. You can pat me down
right here.
Yeah, you can pat me down right in front of everyone else. Don't care. And then the best part is like, they explain to you, they're like, okay, we're gonna go open palm, tap you down everywhere, and when we
Reverse
get
palm.
when we get to a sensitive area, back of the hand, and then like,
across your boobs and
across your like nipples, they go back of the hand, and then like when they get to like the groin region, they go back of the hand, and then like I'm a larger guy, so they were like, man, he could be like hiding something on the inside of his thighs. So they had to call like their supervisor over to like more intricately pat me down. And I was just like,
God, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
Oh,
So to any listeners, I recommend strongly get there a little bit ahead of time and take that path. Because if everyone in America flying said like, no, pat me down, fucker. Like, that would slow down TSA to such a degree that they would have to stop all their bullshit. Because, yeah.
So funny.
It was really fun. They made me take off my belt, and they were kind of going, like, in my
the
waistband.
belt line. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you're going to get started really
Right?
early.
And every time I fly, I'm going to make them do it, because I'm not getting into some dumb body scanner I'm going to find out gives me cancer in 10 years. And it also slows them down, because it took, like... I probably occupied 3 agents for like 15 minutes patting me down. so if everyone can hop on that bandwagon, we can slow TSA to a halt. Oh, man.
That's so funny.
Did you guys see that TSA bumped up the regulations on how much hand sanitizer you can take on a plane now? No, they like
It's all
they
bullshit.
Like,
of course they
they
would.
did, and it just proves that it's such bullshit because they tripled how much hand sanitizer you can take now. Like 12 ounces of hand sanitizer. Or
But if
something
that
on a
was
plane.
C4, that would be a really big bomb.
If you need 12 ounces of hand sanitizer by the time you land on a flight you took, you're bathing in it.
They also let me keep my lighter and my pack of cigarettes. So I was just like,
okay.
yeah, like, what do you take from... You're going to take my, like, bottle of toothpaste, but I get to keep a lighter and cigarettes? Like, you'd think that would cause something negative on a plane. Like, I could go in the bathroom and just start lighting stuff on fire.
Well,
like,
on top of that, have you guys seen the stats for the testing?
yeah, oh yeah.
90%,
like 90% get through?
get through.
Yeah.
In the 10% of things that they stop, give you a guess. Guess what 9 of the 10% are?
Guns.
Liquids. Liquids. Water bottles. We stopped Aquafina from
I remember when
the
they
carpet
first
on the plane.
when they first came out with the body scanner things. There was this guy who came out with like, I'll show you how to get right through this real easy. And he put like essentially a machete to like the side of his body along like
perfectly against his frame.
Perfectly against like his stomach and to his thigh where it was just like flat against him. Mm-hmm. So on the scan thing on like an X-ray, it's just flat. So he gets through with like a machete.
Holy
because it was just like, if it's flat against you, it's not a metal detector, it's an X-ray, so they're just scanning you. And they probably improved it since then because it was like 9 or 10 years ago at this point. But like, he just like walked through with a machete and was like, yeah, this is like how adept our security systems are.
You know, it'd be a badass job being the guy who tests the TSA.
Yeah,
like, you work for the government.
Like, I'm just gonna walk through the
and they're like, all right,
bring someone with you. Like, hey, come on, let's look right along.
This shit. Yeah. Yeah, so I'd recommend everyone get patted down by this, like TSA, because also like these guys are getting paid like $14 an hour, and they do not want to pat down a fat man. It's just like, I'm gonna subject you to this shit because none of you want to be here, and I don't either.
and for the like the scanners, like, you know, more than likely they're not going to come out to show that they.
I don't care.
Cancer.
It's a principle.
More than likely, I know. I'm going to defend you here
yeah.
with a story. Because even if you're not gonna twist your tinfoil cap quite as pointy as John's, he loves his.
It's impossible, actually.
But you can't do it. But
John's a fucking prepper.
Except QAnon, they can do it.
Yeah,
They've
they can
done
do it. That's
But-
way past my level.
But even if none of what he said was scary was happening, the first story to come out, day 4 of those things being in use when they first got, I think you're right, I think it was about like 9 years ago, something like that,
something
full
like
body
that.
scanners, says, man goes on rampage, breaking things, screams at coworkers, and quits on the spot after being made fun of for his small penis by the people by his coworkers who scanned it through the body scanner. It's like, oh, okay, cool. That's not invasion of privacy.
Well, that was like the
at all.
NSA when Prism came out. We're just like, oh, all these 20-year-old programmers are cyberstalking their ex-girlfriends with complete access to the internet? Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
What if we just like don't put any regulations on what these people can do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's just let them have it.
Yeah. I thought Stacy was a terrorist. I had to read her messages and look at her nudes.
That's kind of going
She
in the direction.
rejected me senior year, and I've been suspicious ever since.
We can talk about what's in the house right now
Oh man, what?
with encryption.
Oh
end-to-end
yeah.
encryption.
Okay. Let's spin into
that's a nice
end-to-end
transition.
encryption. Yeah. All right. Tell us about it, McLean.
I don't know that much about it.
I don't know that much about it either. What
All I know
I've been
is that
told,
We're slightly informed.
slightly informed. Did we even say our or show title at the beginning?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're slightly informed, but this is what I've heard: is that there's an encryption bill in Congress that's set to end encryption specifically for messaging apps.
End-to-end encryption.
End-to-end encryption for messaging apps like
WhatsApp.
It's called
Facebook
the
Messenger.
Earn It bill.
The Earn It bill. There
Earn
you
It
go.
Act.
Do you have it pulled up? Do you want to read to us about it?
I'm pulling it up real fast.
Okay, McLean's pulling. I'll tell you my summary, and we'll see how far it aligns with McLean's. So this is what I've been told: is that they're trying to end end-to-end encryption with what's a good reason to end end-to-end encryption, guys?
Terrorists.
Okay, that's one good reason.
Animal abusers.
Domestic abuse.
Domestic abusers, that's another good one. You know what? The one they're trying to pull this time, though? Pedophiles. that these services would have to end end-to-end encryption until they could prove to Congress that there's no pedophiles using their service. Which will be super easy when hundreds of millions of users use WhatsApp. Yeah.
Oh my God,
guys! But it's to protect the children.
Yes, you're not.
You really got to think about the children.
The children.
Yeah. So it's just anytime the government wants to stick it to you, they hide it in terrorism or protecting the children or whatever they want to do. But it's really to stick it to the rest of us.
Well, I mean, the amount of like layers of protection they can shed on this kind of stuff over the years is crazy. Like the fact that net neutrality is like just wiped out.
Yeah.
People can just buy your servers to your local internet, and you can only stream Netflix, but not do anything else.
Mm-hmm. They haven't gotten that far yet because I think it would cause like a mass revolt.
Oh no, yeah, I was sitting in when I worked at Netflix. I had a presentation once, and they were just showing us this to like get to try and like stop people from using some really bad verbiage about like stuff that they didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But to do it, they showed this thing, and it explained net neutrality at the beginning, and then they like cut it off. They're like, oh, it gets really political here, but like you could tell what they were gonna say is like the reason that your screen is buffering is because the lame government won't let us to buy every server in your neighborhood.
Exactly.
It's like,
but then the flip of that too, where it's like DirecTV would turn around and buy the speed traffic in your area and be like, well, you can't watch Netflix, but you heard of DirecTV Now? We'll throttle Netflix and Hulu, but try DirecTV Now. It's free.
So I'm kind of having a weirdly tough time finding too much about it, but it sounds like it's the Earn It bill.
Which is also dumb acronyms. Can we stop it with dumb acronyms?
They also haven't used the word encryption once in it.
oh my God.
Because they don't want to freak people out, but that's literally what it is. So it had its first hearing March 12th, and basically if it passes, it will remove the messaging platform's legal exemption for internet speech sent across their networks. And their argument is that this material could be dangerous and illegal.
Pedophiles.
Oh wow! It's almost like we've heard that
Pedophiles
argument
and
a
drugs.
million times before.
So basically, it's supposed to be 12 people under the Attorney General who have whatever fucking they can
Review it?
They can review it. It sounds like.
Oh my god. And you know it's going to be 12, 60-year-olds who don't understand encryption.
Yeah.
That's how this always works. Yeah, so fuck that.
Yeah. For our head on the anti-encryption task force, Orrin Hatch.
Yeah.
And the other Keebler elves.
Oh man, if we prepared more for this, there's like funny I forgot, it was some YouTube video or something where they were whipping out quotes of these senators trying to like understand technology. And it was just insane.
Does it say anything about like VPNs or Tor or stuff like
No,
that?
this is the problem is
It's just messaging. It's basically they're attacking WhatsApp more than anything.
Yeah, it's big end-to-end encryption messaging apps, but all you're gonna do is push people to like Telegraph and like VPNs and Tors and but more outside of the country based encrypted services.
Yeah.
Like the sketchy people always find a way. These services just fuck over regular people. That's how it always goes.
We're going to find some Ukrainian website. And what are you going to do? Ban it from the entire U.S.
Signal,
internet?
Telegraph. Like there's always someone else who's going to do it. You're just going to fuck all the people who are like normies who only know how to use like WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah. If you're a pedophile, you'll find a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They've been caught on YouTube and shit. Like they're not like
they go into Call of Duty lobbies.
Yeah.
They go into
They
like,
find a way. Criminals find a way. Is that like stunning to anyone? I don't.
Any guesses who introduced the bill?
Oh wait. Let's see.
What's your favorite kind of cracker? A graham cracker. Lindsey Graham.
No way.
Oh my god! Of course it's.
He said one time. I'll just read one little thing. Talking to Grilling Apple and Facebook about this. He said,
I would love to watch him grill Apple.
You're going to find a way to do this, or we're going to do it for you. We're not going to live in a world where a bunch of child abusers have safe haven to practice their craft. Period.
See?
End of discussion.
They're going to get too good at pedophiling.
Yeah.
And we won't be able to stop them.
But if they're rich,
Maybe
Jeffrey
we'll hit you with a
Epstein.
fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah.
You
So
must be
that
this
the
rich to
EFF
pass this charge.
Or Trump on the Lolita Express.
Good
or Bill
response
Clinton,
to this is
or
Mike Bloomberg, like 8
Chris
times.
Rock.
Yeah, Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker, I think it was.
Yeah,
Sorry.
not Chris Rock.
Sorry for blasting you, Chris Rock. You weren't on the Lolita Express, as far as I know. It was
Yes.
Chris Tucker. It was one of you.
As
Chris's.
of March 15th, we have not found out.
a good take back to this. So the EFF says it doesn't help organizations that support victims. It doesn't equip law enforcement agencies with resources to investigate claims of child exploitation or training in how to use online platforms to catch predators. Rather, the bill's authors have shrewdly used defending children as the pretense for an attack on our free speech and security online.
What else is new?
Wow, it's like almost
It's
like
like
they can
use the same
fear
playbook every single time.
with a different pretense.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this time it's because of terrorists.
Yeah, this time
we
it's
have to
child
listen.
predators.
We have to be watching your webcam
Yeah.
because of terrorists.
I think they did the pimps the last time with like Sesta Fosta or whatever.
Yeah. We have to stop traffickers.
Yeah, yep. They always
it's like-
find a way.
Oh man, stop traffickers.
Where are
but-
we
You
at
guys
time-wise,
wanna
Nick? I think we were talking about. We wanted to talk
jump
about
into
Corona.
Corona?
Yeah, let's do a little Corona.
Okay.
So, just briefly before we get into it, as of right now, the 15th, there have been 169,605 worldwide cases.
Confirmed.
Confirmed cases. Now, we'll talk about this more. There's definitely more than that. But as of now, confirmed, it's that number with 6,516 deaths, 77,771 recovered, and there are 80,000 in mild condition and 5,000 or close to 6,000 in serious.
I think one of the glaring ones in the past couple of days was like Italy is now at like 20,000 cases with like maybe it was 20,000 with like 3,000 deaths. Don't quote me, but either way, their thing was at 7%.
Yeah, it's
Their death
getting
rate, yeah,
pretty good.
20,000 with 2,000 deaths. And it was like a
That's-
7% death rate.
That's
When like the flu is a death rate of like 0.2%. So
Well, even the U.S. as of right now, you know, like this.
the
got-
U.S. has
this got
tested nobody. I
crazy.
don't trust our numbers.
And they're saying, okay, which blows my mind, but they're saying right now there's only 800 confirmed new cases.
That's a lie.
What?
South Korea is testing 20,000 people a day. A day. And America, I think, has tested like 5,000 overall since this all started.
Well, I have a friend who went into the doctor, and when you were at the doctor,
Yeah. Same thing I saw while I was there.
they were saying that the place here in Boise that they went to one of the hospitals and they said they had 10 tests, and they were talking to the main person on, when are you going to get more?
Yeah.
And their answer was, don't know. How do you get more? I don't know.
No clue.
They just kind of sent them. They were right.
When I was there, what I saw was the only way to get tested is either have been to China or I think Iran. I think those were the two you could have been to. Either have been to those and showing these symptoms, or know and be able to identify someone who has been diagnosed with coronavirus. So if you haven't been to those two countries and you can't like point to like
the exact
Joe
person.
Schmo, who was diagnosed with coronavirus,
they won't test you.
They won't test you, but since like no one's getting tested, then you can't get tested because you don't know who infected you. So I think the rates in America are like way higher than we would ever think, with estimates going as high as 500,000.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
From people from the fucking CDC
I think they're saying like pneumonia cases have gone way up, and it's like,
yeah,
what would this misidentify as if we didn't test you? Huh.
Fluid in the lungs,
exactly.
respiratory problems, high fever.
Yeah.
Have you been out in the cold too long?
Sweats, no.
No, it's wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so total cases in the U.S. confirmed are a little under 4,000, which is so low. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
here in Boise, there's the first confirmed case in Idaho.
And Boise's super small, and we don't travel outside the country.
Yeah, basically. But Boise,
I think there's been 4 confirmed cases now.
oh shit, okay.
One of them was a professor.
Yeah, so the one I'm talking about is a professor who went on a trip 2 weeks ago and has been teaching ever since. So,
and just as a
BSU
reminder,
professor.
Go ahead.
And now this is like, who fucking knows?
Well, and your entire incubation period, while you're not
like 2
showing
weeks, right?
symptoms,
You're
those 2 weeks,
contagious.
you're contagious the entire time.
Yeah, you're asymptomatic. You show no symptoms, but you can spread it to everyone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's literally the perfect play and play game.
Yeah, it is.
I've played that game like 1,000 times.
Yeah, you
I've
infect
won
us
with this
before.
exact
Yeah,
exact
exactly.
playbook.
Yeah, no, this is a scary one, and I think like the thing we've been talking with our friends about is just like most of us are like mid-20s and like relatively healthy. Like most likely we won't die, but like a lot of us like live with or around or near like family who's like 50, 60, 70, 80. And
Or
it's
immunodeficient.
Yeah, or
like,
immunodeficient or like previous respiratory problems or like anything like that where it's like, yeah, chances are I probably won't die, but if I get infected and like carry it home, like I could kill like my father or my mother or like like an uncle or an aunt. Like, it's
like under 55, I think, what was it, 0.03%
yeah,
deaths?
it's like 0.203.
And then you get above that. Think about how much higher the rate must be above that if the average rate is close to 7.
They're also thinking, though, that Italy's newest numbers have like half the people like dying or infected below 50. So like the newest numbers seem to show that like, and it might be because Italy has like a higher rate of like smoking and stuff, like with like respiratory issues, because that was the thing that happened in
same
China
thing in
too.
China.
With, like,
what is it like?
history of smoking.
79% of adult men in China.
Yeah,
smoke cigarettes?
exactly. Yeah. So that could be
quote
part
me
of
on
it.
that number, but it's high.
That could be part of it,
high
but
for
it's
sure.
just weird that like a lot of the new numbers are showing like young people aren't
that trend is not staying.
Well, also even imagine just like best case scenario, you're knocked on your ass with like 103 fever, which is still like not pleasant.
Yeah,
like that's not.
It's a shitty week.
Yeah,
it's a shitty 2 weeks.
And this is a shitty situation, and I'll take just a second to point out, I'm pretty sure this was my shout out last episode was the people who are like ironing masks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's making it way worse. And I was bouncing around trying to find some accurate numbers, and 2 of the websites I went to have notices at the top saying, we're sorry these numbers were incorrect. We were attacked, like a cyber attack, and people got on and changed the numbers and stuff like that. So I got on one website, and it said that there's been like 4 million confirmed cases.
Yeah.
It's like, you're just trying to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah.
That's why no one has fucking toilet paper.
When also the flip of it too, where like a lot of people are acting like, oh, like this is no big deal. I won't get sick. Like, and it's like you're right. Chances are you won't, but you could also be a carrier. Like if you're like perfectly healthy 20-year-old, like you're right. You probably won't die. Yeah. But if you carry it back to someone who is like immunocompromised because they have like a separate illness or something.
Well, what was there? It was in Seattle where like 78. It's above 75% of the deaths in Seattle as of 5 days ago were all in one assisted living home because someone brought it in and it
just wreaked havoc.
80 plus.
Yeah,
like the entire
there's a lot of people acting like
list, they all died.
Yeah, there's a lot of people acting like it's not a big deal, and it probably isn't for you, but that doesn't mean you should try to carry it back to everyone else you care about.
But
also
any of
it
us
might
got
be for
this,
you.
they just say, Go
I mean,
home.
this would suck.
Well, and it would suck, but like what people have said that like the original story was that like most people they think that most people who have got it had no idea that they ever got it and just kept transmitting it, and the symptoms never really like formed into anything, and it passed. But they've had multiple cases. I think worldwide they're up to like into double digits of cases where someone had it, didn't do anything about it, went a couple weeks, and then caught it again and ended up hospitalized because the second time it hit them, the body wasn't like ready for it. Yeah.
Which is weird too.
It's usually the opposite.
Usually the opposite.
Yeah,
where, like, the body
once
gets more prepared.
You catch it and you get through. You're like, wow, I'm gonna be
you get
fine.
chickenpox once. You don't
it's
get
basically a vaccine, but
again.
it didn't work. I think that's why they're having such a slow start with the vaccination process. Is because whatever they did to manipulate this SARS virus before it accidentally escaped the lab.
Yeah, right.
Conspiracy corner. But
Not proven. Conspiracy corner though.
Not proven. But the Chinese are trying to blame it on Americans. They're calling it like
saying
the
that's
American
so
Army
crazy.
scientist
That's so
disease
funny.
or something. Yeah,
That's so like they're so similar to us.
That's
they
why
really
also,
are.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why a lot of like the AOCs, Ilhan Omars have been saying like it's super racist to call it the Wuhan virus, but it's like a part of me wants to call it the Wuhan virus because they're trying to blame us for it. So I think it might like behoove us to be like, no, actually, this started in your country and it's not our problem. Or not, I guess not our problem, not our fault. It was definitely you guys who did it. So stop trying to blame the CIA or the army.
The Jinping virus.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah, something like that.
How cool would that be?
But a lot of people are calling it like the Wuhan virus, the Chinese flu, like stuff like, and people are calling it that like super racist. But it's like, if they're trying to pass it off to the CIA, maybe we should try to tie it closer to China because they're trying to blame it on us.
Yeah.
And the higher ground doesn't always work, so maybe we should try to blame it back on them and tie it closer.
If Americans were intelligent, I would agree, but I think people are going to just start like
I
looking
can't go to my
at
local
Asian,
Chinese
looking
restaurant,
at Asian people weird and like
I went to a lot of
avoiding
local
them.
Chinese restaurants the last couple weeks, still fire.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, true.
I do want to shout
no
out
wait times.
Michael Osterholm. He came on the Joe Rogan
he was good.
podcast, on the Joe Rogan Experience. Very informative and pretty straight up. I like that he didn't beat around the bush. He said, this is what's happening and stuff like that. And one of the things he did say is that, the extreme shortage of masks and all this stuff. And it's just Americans don't stockpile. And we just
prepared.
think you just hit Amazon, it just shows up. Like, no.
Well, the
Amazon
most
sold out
apt
of their shit,
comparison
in
in his interview with Joe Rogan was like, he was talking about it and he was like, if I told you like the U.S. Army has most of like their bullets and ammunition made in China, you'd be like, no fucking way, that's insane. Like, there's no way Americans are dumb enough to do that. And you're right, the military's not dumb enough to do that. But for some reason, we think it's like super cool with healthcare to be like, yeah, all our medicine's made overseas.
Yeah.
If overseas shuts down, we're just full scale fucked. And it's just like, yeah, that
That's
sounds
pretty
about
much
right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Even with masks and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
what did he say? What
respirators.
did he say? There was enough orders for masks that had been placed. If the U.S. tried to fill them all, it'd take like 3 years to do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
When it's masks that people are, and then you find the sellers who, like Daniel just pulled it up. He's like, look at this. He pulls up an ad for N95 face masks. And
I've
it's
gotten
like,
a lot of ads for those recently.
I would be willing to bet a large sum of money that that's not actually N95, and it's someone
with
making
you.
some shitty mask, and they're trying to
Their server's based in Ukraine, so they'll never be arrested.
push it over as N95, and you're just making the fucking problem worse.
Yeah.
To make a profit, it's pretty fucked up.
All right. Well, we have covered a very strange week here. I'm sure
weird week.
you guys were well aware of the weirdness of this week.
Less
Hopefully-
continuous,
you're
or
even more
less
weird.
continuity than our normal episodes. but-
Yeah, it's a little loose.
But there's been a lot going on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no way we could have squeezed in one of those slightly improvised games. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, like you do our other episodes. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We have an episode of our debate podcast up called A Pub Divided. That's
Check
only
that
on
one out.
YouTube.
It's
It's
a
not
lot of
on any of
fun.
the other streaming
We'll
services.
get it there eventually.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna get there. And for sure, tweet at us, SI_podcasts,
John Arterburn.
at John Arterburn, at McLean Autry, and at Nick NICC Max. I don't have a name that I can just do first and last name. It's just not gonna work. But
You have a normal person named Nick. Go eat dirt.
You gotta go buy that username.
yeah. I'm gonna find out who has it. We'll
All
fight.
right.
But so thanks for checking us out, and enjoy the chaser on your way out. We love you guys.
We'll plug something in.
And I want you just to be straight with the American people. I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true or is that not true?
No, it's not true.
That is not true?
That is not true. What is true is,
when I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Were you on the floor time and time again, for whatever reason, talking about the need to cut Social Security and Medicare and veterans programs?
no, I did not talk about the need to cut any of those programs.
Senator, we have a deficit. We have Social Security and Medicare looming. The number of people on Social Security and Medicare is now 40 million people. It's going to be 80 million in 15 years. Would you consider looking at those programs, age of eligibility,
Absolutely.
cost of living, put it all on the table?
The answer is absolutely. You have to. Social Security is not the hard one to solve. Medicare, that is the gorilla in the room. And you've got to put all of it on the table.
Did you hear the best part though? He said he's not the only penis man. And then the prostitute comes out and he's like, I didn't hear shit about the wedding. That's not why I was there. You're like,
Rest in peace, this man's whole career.
oh my god, no. Oh my god, no!
Yeah.
No!